There have been two modern athletes that have been able to pull off playing two separate sports at the exact same time. And I'm sure you can guess who they are, Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson. But what's interesting about those two is, aside from the fact that they were both incredible athletes and did some amazing things that nobody else has been able to do ever and since, they both had a Sports Illustrated cover that featured them in both of their sports on the same cover. And in this box right here, I've got both of those Sports Illustrateds. It's Jim. I'm with CGC Sports Illustrated. This is an unboxing video. 5 slabs in this box. All modern, obviously, because we're talking about, guys like Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson. But they had a couple of great Sports Illustrated covers featuring them both in, playing baseball and playing football. And both of those covers are going to be in this box, so we're going to take a look at them right now. By the way, while I'm getting this together, and I'm not peeking at the grades, I'm just making sure I got them facing the right direction. If you're interested in my comic and magazine cleaning and pressing service, really simple. Just drop a comment here on YouTube or find me on Twitter or Instagram. Same username is here on YouTube, CGC Sports Illustrated. And if you find me on social media, just shoot me a DM and we can talk about that. If that's something, I'm pressing more comics and magazines than I ever had for fellow collectors, and I love doing it. Would be happy to do yours. Okay, 5 slabs in this box. Got a Time magazine. So 3 Sports Illustrated, a Time magazine, and a game program that we're going to talk about a little bit because I think they're very interesting. I'm fascinated by them, but they're a little confusing and they need some explanation. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Let's get rocking and rolling with number 1. Okay, take that. Not the greatest grade in the world, but ended up being spot on with my projection because I projected it at 8.5. Here's the first 2-sport athlete, Deion Sanders. So this issue came out on August 24th, 1992. Now his first cover was 1989, but like I said, I thought this one and the Bo Jackson were very interesting because they showed them in both sports. And this one's kind of a little goofy. That's, Deion in his Atlanta Braves cap there, and then he's there in his, I assume that's the Atlanta Falcons. I need to look into that. Yeah, that's got to be the Falcons in 92, because I think he came to the Cowboys a couple of years later. Pop reports on this. There's a 9.4, there's a 9.2, there's a 9.0, and then this 8.5. Only player in history to hit a home run and score a touchdown in the same week. He's also the only player in history to ever play in both a World Series and a Super Bowl. And I love Deion Sanders. Loved him back then. Prime time. I mean, come on. Watching Chris Berman do NFL highlights. Deion goes high-stepping into the end zone, and Berman's all out there going, prime time. Prime time. I mean, he's just been so much fun. Love him coaching at Colorado. He was obviously a little overhyped last year, but I still think it's fascinating as college football is going through some massive changes with the transfer portal and NIL and teams changing conferences and the new college football playoff system and all that sort of stuff. There's more changes in college football than ever, but college football, much more interesting with Deion Sanders as a head coach for a Power 5 conference like Colorado, and I love it, and I love this cover, graded at 8.5 from 1992, and we are off and running. All right. That's a good one. I like that one. I like stories. I like players that are interesting. Obviously, I like crazy Hall of Fame athletes, but I like stuff that's just interesting, visually appealing, interesting stories behind it. Next up. Oh, that's a bummer. Again, I like stuff that's interesting. Time magazine, Donald Trump. This is his Person of the Year issue. So this came out on December 19th, 2016. So he was technically president-elect, but hadn't gone and been inaugurated yet, which would have happened a month later. There are 3 9.6s. There are 2 9.4s and 2 9.2s. I projected this at a 9.2, so within my projection window, but on the downside of it, modern Time magazines are very fragile. They're very difficult to get in a high grade, in my opinion. But again, they're really interesting. I've had a number of politicians in recent unboxing videos, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I hate all politicians on both sides of the aisle. I think they're all scumbags, cheats, liars, crooks, and just some of the most miserable human beings on the face of the planet. But I do love history, and I really love presidential history, and I love those snapshots in time. And think of how much has changed since this came out just over 7 years ago. Just absolutely crazy. Donald Trump, Time Magazine, Person of the Year, 9.0. Not bad. It's okay. It's okay. I would love something that's amazing. Let's see if we can do that. Let's do amazing. That. Oh. That's a gut punch. That's terrible. 6.5? I thought I was looking at it backwards or upside down. I was like, is that a 9.5? That's not even a real grade. 6.5? That doesn't make any sense. This issue is in much... I projected this at a 9.0. So, I think what I'm finally going to have to do is a series of videos on grader notes. Because this one's just... This is just freaking crazy. This is insane. This is not a 6.5. Unless there's some major damage to the interior pages that I missed when I was pressing this issue, there's just no way. There's no way that this is a 6.5. It's not even close. So what I'm going to have to do going forward is do a series of videos where I kind of look at grades that are really, really surprising to me, and then pull up the grader notes and do a little bit of an explanation. And it's entirely possible that there's something very valid where this deserves a 6.5. And it's entirely possible that that this is just misgraded. And it's a shame, because this is the other one I was talking about. So here's Bo Jackson. This issue, this is the Which Way Bo cover, which came out on December 14th, 1987. There's a 9.4. There's three 9.2s. I own one of those at 9.2. There's two 9.0s, and screw it. Let's go to some Bo Jackson highlights.
Talent. Orsolak licks that one to left center field. Bo on the charge. Bo is there. Young on the run that wall.
And here's Bo Jackson around the corner and down the sideline, and there he goes.
He's been thrown out at second base. Line drive toward the corner in left field. It's going to be up to Bo Jackson to try to stop Reynolds from scoring. He can't do it. Yes, he can. I don't believe it. He made an absolutely perfect throw.
Miami in the East, and now the Raiders, can they stay with Kansas City, and can Denver stay with Bo Jackson? The answer is no. Bo has another.
Pacing yourself.
That's high. He just may have missed it. I don't know. Bo Jackson back, leaps, and he makes the catch.
First turnover of the game. Bo Jackson bouncing off tacklers. He's got a touchdown.
That's into right field. That's a can of corn. Bo Jackson is there. As here's a throw. Gallego tagging, and Bo gets it.
Bo Jackson, second surge, touchdown.
I love Bo Jackson highlights all day. I hate this 6.5 grade. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because it's fun. So when I grew up, I went to high school outside of Detroit, suburban Detroit. And this was back when Barry Sanders was playing for the Lions and Bo Jackson was playing for the Raiders. And so the Raiders came to Detroit for a Monday night football game at the old Pontiac Silverdome. And so my buddies and I were like, oh, we got to go to this game. We'd never been to a Monday night football. It's still the only Monday night football game I've ever been to. We got to go to this game. So a buddy of mine, grabbed his mom's minivan, and like 7 or 8 of us pile into this freaking minivan and drive to the Silverdome and see it. And it was just awesome. It was just two of the greatest running backs of modern era in Barry Sanders and Bo Jackson going at each other. NFL games can be a little crazy. Fans in the stands can be a little crazy. I can tell you, Monday Night Football is a whole nother level. There were fights in the stands, fights in the concourse. I mean, you got to think, this is Detroit in the late 80s, early 90s. Wasn't the best town back then. Not the best town today. A little rough around the edges. And here you've got a bunch of drunk NFL fans amped up on a Monday night football game. But it was a great experience, and I made it out alive. So I love Bo Jackson and love this issue. I hate that stinking 9.6. All right. Got to do better. Next up. Whew, jeez, look at that black. Yeah, and you can see it right there. So let's talk about this a little bit before I do the reveal. So obviously all that black ink, you see those smudges there? Got some there, got some there. Those are fingerprints. And they're kind of like 3 levels of fingerprints, in my opinion, when it comes to comics and magazines. There are the fingerprints that are on there that you can get off. Use a cotton round or a soot sponge or something like that, and those fingerprints are get off. Then there's the fingerprints that have been on there a while, and you can maybe get a little bit of it off, but you're still going to see a little stain there, even if you use a cotton round, a soot sponge, or even some certain solvents and surfactants. Those fingerprints can stay there. And then this is level 3 fingerprint. So these are fingerprints that were on there so long they actually ate the oil from the fingerprint, ate into the ink. And basically removed the ink from there. So that's what you're seeing here. Let's take a look at what this issue is. Okay, so really interesting here. This is Hoop Magazine. This issue is from, and we'll talk about this a little bit. Interesting. Okay, props to CGC. I've been beating CGC up lately, and they've deserved it. But they nailed it on this one. So Hoop Magazine. I don't know if this is still true today. It certainly was true back in the 80s and 90s. There are 2 versions. I may not have all these details right, but you'll get the point. There is the magazine version. So if I was in 1985, when this came out, November 13th, 1985, I could subscribe to Hoop Magazine, and I'd get an issue of Hoop Magazine mailed to me at home, and it was, awesome and cool and all that sort of stuff. But these were also the default game programs for the NBA. So what the NBA did is every month they would print one game program. Now the insides would change a little bit, but there would be a scorecard in there for the game programs. But then there was the magazine, but it was the same cover, and a lot of the insides were exactly the same too. So if you're interested in Hoop Magazine, and I think some Hoop Magazines are pretty cool, especially the ones with Jordan on the cover, you've got to know what you're buying. You're either buying the magazine, and it says up here, the official NBA program magazine. It's because it was both. It was the game program that you would buy when you went to the games, but it was also a magazine that you could subscribe to and get delivered to you at home, and it had the same thing on the cover. So props to CGC. This is not the subscribed magazine. This is a game program. So this was from the Bulls versus Philadelphia 76ers on November 13th, 1985. It was at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. All of that's on here. November 13th, 1985, Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia edition, because there's a game program inside that has the date and has the 2 teams, so we can go back and find archives and match this up properly. So this is the Philadelphia version, because again, the exact same, the Lakers versus, whoever they played that day, the, Golden State Warriors on November 13th, 1985. It's going to look exactly like this. And likely the only difference is going to be the scorecard at the centerfold. So they label this the Philadelphia edition because the game was played at the old Spectrum in Philadelphia. And what I love what CGC did on this, by the way, I made the request, so I'm not going to give them all the credit in the world, but I'm going to give them credit for just checking all the boxes and nailing it all. They even put the score. Philadelphia 76ers 110, Bulls 106. Awesome, awesome job, CGC, on that. The label information is so important because that's where the story is told. Collecting is about specifics. It's specifics. We want that 9.0 Mickey Mantle card. That's specific. I don't want a PSA 2. I want that PSA 9 Mickey Mantle card. I want newsstand issues of Sports Illustrated, not subscription. It's important to be specific. This is the game program from November 13th, 1985, played at the Philadelphia Spectrum. It's the Philadelphia edition, and the 76ers beat the Bulls 110 to 106. That's awesome. Congratulations, CGC. This is the Best job I've ever seen you do on a slab label. Really, really important. Not a huge fan of that 5.5, but that's okay because let's talk about this. Highest graded copy, 6.0. So 5.5, I'll definitely take that. And I love this. Love everything about that. And beautiful vintage Jordan. 1985 Jordan. Man, that's gorgeous. All right, fun. Glad I got to tell the story about Hoop Magazine. And like I said, I may not have all of those things 100% correct, but you get the general idea on what I'm saying. There are two different types, and it's really important to know what you're getting, whether it's the magazine or the game program. Okay, last one. I know what this one is because all the rest have already been done, and this is one of my favorites, and we'll see if I get the labeling on this one too. Oh, I do not like that grade. Come on! So happy with labeling being correct and descriptive and specific. Gah. Punch me right in the throat with a 7.5. Ah, okay, good. Okay, so again, the labeling is done correctly. So this is Sports Illustrated. This came out on October 24th, 1988. You know I'm a big Notre Dame fan, so this is Notre Dame versus Miami, but why is this important? This is Tony Rice's first cover. Big deal. I mean, he was a great college player, but didn't amount to, anything in the pros. Not all that collectible. This is the Catholics versus Convicts game. The famous, infamous Catholics versus Convicts game. This photo was taken during that game. Love that part of the story. I think that makes this collectible beyond just Notre Dame fans. I mean, the Catholics versus Convicts, Notre Dame versus Miami game in 1988, probably top 10 famous college football games of all time. There was an entire 30 for 30 done on it on ESPN, which is spectacular, by the way. If you have not seen the Catholics versus Convicts 30 for 30, go back and watch that. I love stories like this. I love that they got the labeling right. First Tony Rice SI cover, and it says Catholics versus Convicts game cover story. And that photo was taken during the Catholics versus Convicts game. Fun box, lots of interesting stories and stuff to talk about. Really appreciate you watching. Follow me on social media. Another unboxing video coming up soon. Thanks for watching.